progress.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pursuing Excellence podcast. I'm your host, Jay Gay, and today on the podcast I have Aaron Freeman. He works with covering Atlanta Falcons, has his own podcast called the Locked On Podcast. Great listen, by the way. Listen to almost every day. You also work with the Falcoholic, right?
Yep.
Okay. So first off, Mr. Freeman, just wanted to just ask you a couple questions. So how are you doing? How are things going? Season obviously started. We're 2 weeks in, so how is everything going?
It's going fine. Things would be going a little bit better if the Falcons would win. Cover some wins. For once, it's been too long since the Falcons have had a winning team. But other than that, other than the weekly frustrations that is the Atlanta Falcons, and given my long history with that team, I should be used to it by now. But other than that, I'm doing well.
Right. Same here. Just a few questions, Mr. Freeman. So how did you get into this profession of the media and the journalism profession? How did you get into this and talk about that and more covering with the Falcons and everything like that?
Yeah, it started way back in 2006. I was fresh out of college at the University of Pittsburgh, had a degree. Not a degree that you could do a whole lot with history and whatnot, and wasn't really sure what I was going to do as a career. And I, in the previous years, had a website called Falcons.com that was just kind of a hobby website that I put up some Falcons content at occasionally. But realizing, I was very passionate about talking sports, talking football, talking about the Falcons online in various places, and I realized Falcons.com was a great platform for me to get some content out there, and maybe that could one day lead to professionally covering football.
Right.
And sort of that's where it kind of started with the podcast beginning around 2011. Then called the Falcons Podcast, and then eventually linking up with the Locked On Podcast Network in 2016, and doing the daily podcast on Locked On Falcons. So that's kind of where it all started. It was a long journey starting about 15 years ago of basically not knowing what I wanted to do with my life, but realizing, hey, I like talking about sports, I like talking about football, I like talking about the Falcons. Maybe one day someone will pay me money to do those things.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, great podcast by the way. I listen to it almost every day. So I'm a college student as well. So just on the drive to school, just listening to that and everything. For the viewers out there watching that don't know me, I started this podcast actually. It's been 7 months I've been doing this now. So had a lot of good guests on the podcast. I also had Harry Douglas on here actually. A while ago, so if you guys get a chance, take a listen to that. And obviously, like I said, I've been doing this for 7 months. I love football, love covering it. It's amazing. Played the sport myself in high school, won a couple state championships. But anyway, so Mr. Freeman, so from week 1 to week 2. From that blowout loss to the Eagles in week 1 to Tampa Bay in week 2, did you see improvements within the Falcons?
Yeah, you did see improvements. I think basically, to me, the performance in week 1 was just so below par that, I think in week 2, they actually looked like an NFL team, being able to be competitive. And looked similar to what they did in that Week 17 game last year against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road, where they started off poorly, got better in the second half, and then the Bucs kind of showed themselves of why they're were the future Super Bowl champions, and now we know that coming off of their Super Bowl win last year in the fourth quarter. So I think there were improvements by the Falcons. From week 1 to week 2, I think the offensive line was a little bit better. It's still a major question mark, but it was a little bit better. But because the offensive line wasn't a train wreck like it was in week 1, the passing game was a little bit more effective, and you got to see some of the Falcons playmakers make plays. Players like Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts and Cordero Patterson all made sort of key big plays. And that, I think, was one of the reasons why the Falcons were able to go from 6 points in week 1 to 25 points in week 2. I think the defense was a little bit better. You saw some positive plays from players like A.J. Terrell, had 2 big pass breakups. You saw a couple of sacks from Dante Fowler and others in week 3. So I think there's reasons to believe that the Falcons showed progress. I still think they're still a ways away from being the team that I think a lot of us hope this team is capable of being. Right. But certainly they made some progress from week 1 and week 2.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with you completely. But like I said, week 1 was atrocious. But like I said, week 2, it seemed like the offensive line did improve. Matt Ryan had a little bit more time in the pocket, able to make some good throws, over the field and get the ball to Calvin really more than what we saw in week 1. I think he had 7 receptions for 63 yards in the lone touchdown he had. That was a big touchdown at that moment of the game. We were driving down the field. It just seems like the flow was better offensively. We were clicking, moving down the field, staying ahead of the chains a little bit. Kyle Pitts, obviously, getting him involved, it was huge. He had that one big catch. Man, I think he caught it, got the first down. He just kept going. I think it ended up being like a 24-yard gain. It was just, it's huge. Defensively, like you said, now this is Tom Brady. He's on so much you can do. But they already able to get some pressure. Like you said, AJ Terrell has some good pass breakups. But just, a few moments, though, within the game, opportunities that were missed. Like, Fabian Moreau had to drop the interception in the end zone. Tom Brady threw a back shoulder. It went right through Fabian Moreau's hands. That could have been huge. So some missed opportunities still. Something we need to improve on. But other than that, I think the team played well. They played well. It was great. As far as in the before things start spiraling out of control with the interceptions and so just from that. So take us through what happened. It was 28-25 game, right? So after that, what happened that started to make this game spiral out of control?
Yeah, I think the league has morphed so much into an offensive-driven league.
Right.
The old adage is defenses win championships, but when you look at the teams that are consistently making deep postseason runs, it's not the teams that are the top defenses. It is the team that are top offenses. And I say that because you kind of need your offense in the fourth quarter to go out there and win the game. And the Falcons offense wasn't able to do that. Obviously, they had 2 pick sixes. It gave points to the Bucs rather than, those being times where the Falcons could have potentially drove down the field and scored. I think those 2 interceptions, the first one, I think where he threw it to Russell Gage and Mike Edwards jumped the throw, that was basically your standard miscommunication. Matt Ryan threw it inside, Russell Gage broke outside, and it made it an easy play for Mike Edwards to just read that and jump the throw and take it to the house. So that's just a standard communication error. Then on the subsequent drive, the Falcons went for it on 4th down and failed to get it. But what led to that 4th down was, I recall, a 3rd and 1 where the Falcons decided to run the football to Cordero Patterson and they got stuffed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
There were so many instances where the Falcons ran it in short yardage and got stuffed. So I might be confusing one of these drives, but I'm pretty sure that was a situation where the Falcons decided to run it up the middle and they got stuffed. And that was just an instance, I think, of questionable play calling at that point in time in the game where the Falcons didn't make sense for the Falcons to run it into the teeth of the Bucs defensive line.
Yeah.
And it was one instance where all game the Falcons were struggling to run it up the middle, and their only success running the football was to the outside the tackles. So if you are going to run it in that instance, run it outside rather than up the middle. But you're probably better served throwing it. And then I think on the 4th down, if my recollection recalls, there was a breakdown in pass protection. where I think the Bucs rushed 6 guys and the Falcons only had 5 guys to block them. Yeah. And the way that you want to get that blocked up is you want to block inside outside, right? The shortest path to the quarterback is up the middle, and the Falcons let a free rusher come up the middle. I believe it was Devin White, again going off of memory now. And he just went right through the A gap, and it led to Matt Ryan throwing, an off-target throw, and it was a turnover on downs. I believe that was the way it went. And then the next drive, the Falcons got the ball back, and it was just a Bucs blitz. Carlton Davis timed it well, tipped it up in the air, and tipped it right to Mike Edwards, and just waltzed into the end zone for another pick six. And so I think a lot of it was sort of bad luck. I think a lot of it was poor execution on the Falcons' part. And so those are some of the things that the Falcons are going to have to improve. Obviously, luck can go either way. The way that football works is that 1 week you'll get the breaks going your way, 1 week they'll go against you. So I'm not too worried about the pick sixes in that instance, but it's that lack of execution where, not being able to get the right play call, not being able to get the right protection. Those are, I think, the things that the Falcons certainly can work on and improve upon. And that should, at least in theory, the next opportunity they have where they need to go down the field and score points, if they can get those things corrected, then they will certainly have a chance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Play calling was another thing I noticed. Like you said, there was one play. It looked like they were going to go for it on 4th down. Russell Gage came in like the Wildcat spot. I don't know if you remember that play. I guess they were trying to draw him offsides, and we ended up punting. But and Cameron Nigelek, punter, did kind of had a few shanks. And they end up being a good day for him because those were crucial. Special teams, I don't think enough people understand that special teams is one of the most important aspects of a football game on any level, because it's where the whole game can flip. The momentum can change very quickly on special teams. The team having to go a long part of the field versus a short part of the field, that's huge, especially if it's Tom Brady. So, I think that's moving forward. I think they did sign another punter, the other day. So maybe that can, motivate Nigelec to get that better and improve. But other than that, I just say it was, for the most part, it was an okay performance. Definitely an improvement. So moving forward to the Giants the next week, what is key for the Falcons to get that win?
Yeah, and before I answer that question, I just looked it up, and I had the order of the plays wrong. The 3rd and 1 play came on the drive before Matt Ryan's first pick six.
Right.
The 4th down play was the play that I described where they got a free protection, but the 3rd and 1 play was previous drive. So that's my bad. Again, too many failures in the 4th quarter for the Falcons to keep them all straight.
Yes.
But I think with the Giants, the good thing going for the Falcons is that some of the Giants' weaknesses are some of the areas where the Falcons could potentially excel. The Giants' offensive line is not very good, comparable to the Falcons' offensive line in terms of its struggles. Right. Of course, that's going to present its own challenges for the Falcons' offensive line going up against the Giants' defensive line, where they have a player like Leonard Williams, and he often goes up against the left guard, where the Falcons' biggest weakness is on their offensive line with rookie Jalen Mayfield. Yes. So that's an issue that the Falcons are going to have to deal with. But fortunately, if they can keep Leonard Williams in check, there isn't a whole lot of other players for the Giants that should give them too much trouble. It's not to say that Dexter Lawrence and Azeez Ojulari are bad players, but certainly they shouldn't take over a game is the hope. But we'll cross our fingers with that. But I think the Giants' offensive line is problematic. Similarly, their interior offensive line is going through some issues as well. That's where the Falcons' best pass rusher and Grady Jarrett is. So hopefully those kind of things cancel each other out. I think this Giants team, the main concern I have for the Falcons going into week 3 against the Giants is the potential injury to A.J. Terrell. If he's in the concussion protocol and misses this game, the Giants do have some weapons at the wide receiver position. And, their backup corner is T.J. Green, who is a former safety. And through the preseason and so far in limited action, this season has not looked up to par as a starting corner. So that's going to create more issues on the back end for the Falcons that they've already shown They can't really afford to have more issues there. So that's going to put more pressure on that front, led by Grady Jarrett, to be able to get pressure to cover up some of those mistakes. Given that the Giants do have some playmakers in Kenny Galladay and Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard at that wide receiver position that can certainly exploit some of the vulnerabilities there. I think offensively for the Falcons, again, they can keep Leonard Williams blocked. James Bradbury, who's the Giants' top corner, has often been a shadow corner, has not played particularly well this season. And Calvin Ridley is the type of receiver that generally gives James Bradbury a lot of problems. So that's a plus for the Falcons. Kyle Pitts should help continue to emerge as a playmaker in the middle of the defense where the Giants have struggled to cover. So that should also help. So I think the key for the Falcons is if they can run the football, which the Giants have not been great against the run so far this season, and get into third and manageable situations, and their pass rush is not, or their pass protection is not put in a bad situation, and the Giants are able to pin their ears back on third and longs and whatnot. I think the Falcons will have an opportunity to move the ball against this Giants team.
Oh, yeah.
And if they can continue to, put points up on the board, obviously, at the end of the game, the team that wins is the team that scores the most points. So, again, I think the pressure is going to be on the Falcons offense to carry the day, just because while the Giants